Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Well, hi, everyone. Happy Thursday afternoon in November. We just got through one of my favorite days of the year, 11/11, honoring all the veterans out there. I salute you in each and every way. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 1983 to 1989. I mean, many years ago, but in many, many ways, it still seems like yesterday. So I'm glad you're here with us today, and we might go into a little bit of a discussion about that during this show's time frame. I want to go through a little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to scroll a few things across here as reminders. You can definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. Again, youtube.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. And I also say, if you want to get to our YouTube channel really quickly, just go to networktogether.net. That's networktogether.net, and click on the YouTube icon. That's another way of getting you there. I know some of us, they tell me, they're spelling challenged, so that will get you there much more quickly. Also, I want to let everyone know that we also have a Facebook page as well. Go to our Facebook. You can get notifications when the show comes on air. It's facebook.com/iNetrepreneurradio.com. Also, we are an event company that offers memberships. We offer publishing. We offer our Art of Connection Summit. To get access to all of these meetings, events, just go to NT Events, like Network Together, ntevents.net. And you can view the Academy classes and other opportunities that we have for our members and the general public and more. Again, we put on over 1,000 meetings and events per year, and we'd like to see you there. We want you to connect and see your success. Also, another item that we have, I should have picked up a magazine, but we also have our iNetrepreneur magazine. Again, you can go to networktogether.net. That's networktogether.net and iNetrepreneur Network, and get to our magazine website. We have several issues there. We've had Mark Victor Hansen in our magazine. We've had Doug Vermeyen in our magazine. We've had Sharon Lecter, Brandon Barnum, a lot of great celebrities here, both in Arizona and other parts of the nation. So it's a great read, lots of great information. And our guest today is also in that information. We have a two-time best-selling author with us today. But lastly, before I get into that, he's also a best-selling author in another book that I have right behind me, and that's called The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Networking Quotes. He's going to be in our third book coming up, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes. So, Dr. Joe, you're going to be a 3-time best-selling author. So with no further ado, I'm going to invite our guest of honor to our show today, Mr. Dr. Joe Blake. Hey, Dr. Joe.
All right. Hey, how you doing there, Robert?
I am doing fine. I'm doing fine. I'm always excited to see you. Now we talked a little bit before the show. I see that raven back there, so we'll just have to look what's coming. Those ravens and those cowboys. That could actually be a setting for the Super Bowl coming up in February, right?
Right. I'm Raven fan, for life. Being from Baltimore. As I mentioned, also my wife, she's a Cowboy fan. So, you and her, Robert, you can cheer for the Cowboys all day.
well, I tell you, I said I keep liking your wife more and more. I'm gonna have to get her on the show, I think. And I tell people that, and they say, well, those darn Cowboys. And I say, I live in Arizona now. I do support the red. I'm the sea of red, but again, you kind of grow where you grow up is sometimes where you kind of keep up. So I still keep up with the Dallas Cowboys, and I grew up during the Tom Landry years, and I like to call those like the salad days or the golden years of the Cowboys, when Tom Landry was there and Tex Schramm and some great quarterbacks like Roger Staubach. So those are the days I grew up, getting my teeth on the Cowboys in their greatness then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for me, it was not that great for the Colts. When the Colts were in Baltimore, Burt Jones was quarterback, and I remember in the 10th grade, my geometry teacher would always come to school. It's Monday morning, blah blah blah, and the Colts lost again.
Well, I can actually remember Burt Jones when I was a kid, and I thought he was the most phenomenal player that played for one of the most inept teams. And I hate saying that because you know, you, and here's what I think. It's all about entrepreneurs and business owners, but this is what's really incredible to me. You think of the what 7.5 billion people on the face of the earth, and then you think that there's just a few thousand players that ever even get to the
Yes,
National Football League. And you are talking from a mindset, from a heart set, from the skill set that I mean, each and every player in the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. And here we are saying that one team is bad when it's all relative, isn't it?
it is. Right, it sure is.
Because I know one thing, I'm not going to go out there on the field and look like I'm excellent at anything.
I wouldn't try it either.
You
I'm
know,
not tall enough. Not forget it.
you know, well, and that's what I think that as business owners, we really need to find ourselves in what greatness looks like. And
Yeah.
you and I have talked about before, does it take courage? Yes. Does it take commitment? Yes. Does it take an amount of character? Yes. All these things go into the creation of a great entrepreneur. And frankly, the nicest thing about being an entrepreneur is you can be very great, but the field of entrepreneurship is much wider than a football field, isn't it?
It is. It is wider than a football field, and sometimes you got to be able to define what you want to do and who you are, and then work with it. And I define a lot of my learning, understanding from the Word of God, and he tells us there is to find that one thing that you do, find that one thing, and you find what it is, and you do it. And you may have other gifts and talents you have, but you find that one gift and talent, and you work with that one gift and talent to get you to your wealthy place or your place of peace for yourself.
Well, but with you, Dr. Joe, I mean, I know you fairly well, and we just we chat one, and I
Yeah.
always, you're one of those people. You're on my pick up the phone team, and when I need someone to talk to, I pick up the phone and I call you, but I also look at it when I see your number come up on my phone, I have to go like. I have to always look up that clock and say, okay, I know it's not going to be a 5 minute call. you know, normally that 5 minute call turns into a 30-minute call or a 40-minute 5 minute call. And quite frankly, you know we all have to make profit as entrepreneurs, but we also
Oh
need to be
yes.
led and be willing to be led. And that's what
Yes.
I think our conversation is to be a great leader, you also have to be a great follower. And to be a great
Yes.
follower, you need to learn what the skills of leadership are. And I think sometimes we put so much effort into you know being the number one person, we don't know how to be a good two, three, four, five. And sometimes we don't even understand the thought processes or even the mindset of what it is like to be a member of a team, don't we? I mean, I think we need some training there, don't we?
Yeah, we do sometimes because again, I go from the word. It says there's a place there. It says follow those who through faith and patience inherit the promises, and you're not following that individual. You're following their faith and their patience and what they learn and what they do to get those promises. So seeing how, like we were saying earlier, how diligent they are, see how they're patient about their work, and see how they uh, are, a master at their craft. And you're following that aspect of what they are and what they do to help you get to where you are. And so, like in your case, I mean, I have a PhD, but I'm following you because you are a master at your craft of networking and getting people to go know one another and be with one another, help their business go to their other direction. So sometimes when you know what you need for someone else, you got to put yourself in a reverse seat or on the back seat or on the side so you can get what you need to go to get to the next level. And
You know,
sometimes people
mhm.
don't know how to do that.
Well, and I think it's also important. I've heard the saying, be the dumbest person in the room. And I said, if we kept doing that, we'd just be a room full of dummies. And
Yeah.
so, I, I, what I always think is, be the dumbest, person in the room on many things, but come to the room being the best gifted person in some other things, and then we can all learn from each other's gifts. And so, I've never really ascribed to, having a mastermind of being the dumbest person in the room. My thing is I want to be able to give and I want to be able to receive. And if every
Hmm.
person in that mastermind is able to give and receive, we all come away with being able to serve others and being able to be served ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's where I go back to, what is commerce? And I say this, and I think you and I've talked about that before. Commerce is commercer, and commercer comes from the French word, and then before that the Latin word of good trade. And I think as business owners, the biggest understanding that we need to know in model, right, is that
Hmm.
if I have salt and you have sugar, and we're able to bridge and bring that with each other, we both have salt and sugar, and that is a good trade because we both benefit from it. And see, that's what I love about you, Dr. Joe. You put your heart into how can I be of benefit? How can I be of value? How can I not just tell people what they need to know, but actually live what they need to know? And that's why I appreciate you. Now,
Okay.
your background, you've been an entrepreneur for many years. You teach
Hmm.
financial fitness. You are a committed family member. You're a man of God. And I love that. I was a youth minister. I did 2 church missions. And I said, people say, how can you sell, Robert? And I said, if you go door to door selling God, you can sell anything. So I, I learned how to get pretty courageous doing that because there was a lot of door shuts on me, and
Yeah.
my head
Yeah.
was still in the door. But
Yeah.
you know, going back to the 3 C's that I kind of wanted to talk to you about, courage, commitment, and character.
Okay.
We just came from, one of my revered days of the year, and that's November 11th. And on November 11th, it is a celebration to, honor and remember those fallen soldiers, those brothers and sisters who have been there before us. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. You were in the military for many years, and you've seen many people come and go, and that certainly was a very strong aspect of your life. And how does it play a role in you as a family man, a man of God, and also as an entrepreneur?
Well, yeah, I served 12 years, 10 months, and 11 days. I always joke with that because sometimes people don't realize it's on your DD 214. But I enjoyed my years in the Air Force, and because I was a military firefighter, and they were very impactful for me. Um, and being a veteran, I look back at that time while you're in there in the service, you're not thinking of it that way because you're there and you're performing the duty. But it's not until after you get out and you realize what an honor it was to be there and to serve your country, and what you did for your company, what you did for your country, and and after it's all said and done, and now more so now than it was when I got out, how they honor us and speak about us. And when you see someone, you wear your veterans hat, they say thank you for your service. And I said, you're more than welcome. And that's what I say. I say you're welcome. I said, well, thank you, and thank you for thanking me. Because my dad was a Vietnam vet, and when he came back, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So so each year got better, but it makes you proud to have served and sacrificed in that way. And then to have my children follow me um, was like I followed my dad was another blessing.
Well, and what I know, because I was in the Marine Corps, is There is some knowledge-based curriculum in the Marines. Believe it or not, everyone out there,
Yeah.
we might be called jarheads, but we actually have curriculum that we have to learn in the Marines, and quite frankly, there's a lot of it that people just don't know. But I think what translated for me from what I found in the military is because of that time, I learned that knowledge isn't, like education is not just the knowledge, it's actually the actions that come from that knowledge. And, the way it manifested in the Marine Corps is you had to keep practicing, practicing, and practicing the things that you learn. And I think sometimes in business, you have a lot of entrepreneurs and they have a lot of knowledge, don't they? I mean, they do. They have a lot of knowledge, but you know, they may be lacking in practice and in experience, which gives them that perspective. And I think that's one of the things where, as I've gotten older, I said, when I was younger, I used to perspire. As I've gotten older, I like to inspire, so then I can get on to retire. And the thing is I haven't really gotten to that retire part yet because I feel like, you know, gentlemen like you and I, we almost have a moral and ethical obligation to really keep helping that same generation, keep some of the social conventions going, and helping others kind of model after our footsteps and give them what I think a lot of people really need now, and that's this courage. And that courage could even be standing up in front of the audience, not a camera. Kids get it; they can get in front of those cameras, and maybe some of us
Yeah.
older guys can't.
Yeah.
But boy, when it comes to getting in front of a person to do an interview, getting up on stage, doing things in that social connection medium, it's a little bit tough for them sometimes, isn't it?
It is. And what I tend to do, because I also teach at the community college level, is that there have different events at the college where students have to come in and they have to practice what they've learned in class. And
Mhm.
so they have some instructors that we give mock interviews for students that are like searching for jobs and things of that nature. And when I was I'm retired now, semi-retired myself, but when I worked at the VA, I did interviews for workers that were coming on board. So I took those skills and I go to the university and I help the students there that are going to be in a situation like that. So I,
Mhm.
put them in on a hot seat, so to speak. And sometimes you got to be able to take those actions and put it to work. And the same thing with business owners. You can sit and you can learn and you can talk about, okay, I read this book. Okay, I got this. I sat in this seminar. And okay, I listened to this tape. At some point you have to become a product of the tapes you
Of the
listen to.
product.
Yeah, you got to become a
You gotta be a product of the product.
yeah, the tapes you listen to, the books you read. You got to be a product of it, and you got to do something with it. You can read all day, but you have to be able to do something with it. And once you read it, listen to it, and you do something with it, then the results will show up.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, you probably have heard me say this before. I said, what good is personal development if you're not going to use it?
Right.
I mean, again, it goes back to, and my mom as well, Dr.
Yeah.
Krieger, and she told me time and time again, she said the role of education is not to create people who are knowledgeable, is to create people who, have action. And I think that's what you and I have learned in the military. You have to have an action, and we take it into our family and our business lives.
Yeah.
We are participatory dads. And one of the saddest things I can see is, in certain ways, the nuclear family where the man is not in concert in leadership with that family. And I would love to, see, entrepreneurship, also kind of take a leading role in bringing, men back, young boys back to growing into really strong men who have commitment and character, to their God, to their family, and to their business. And
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
that's one thing I think that you and I both have a passion for, don't we?
Yes, yes, we do. As a matter of fact, I always I've challenged my children since they were small, and they're all adults now, and my and it starts with like you, the father, because you
Hmm.
father is another meaning for it, means source. So whatever's in you is going to be in them, meaning your kids, and so um, you know, education wise, be having a PhD, I didn't have to tell my kids to do it. They did it because they saw me do it. And so my boys, that's why all my kids have master's degrees. And when I talk to them, I talk to them about education. When I talk to them about going into the military, I say, you're going to go in the military. A lot of guys going to be partying. You can go party too, but make sure you get a degree while you in. And that's what each one of them did. And then my oldest daughter, when I married her mom, Jessica was already a young girl, and we got married. Jessica would turn 18, and boom. But when she came back and she seen where we were, and she was like, "What? I want some of this." And then Jessica turned around, strong woman. She has her master's. So now, with the kids being grown, I mean, adults as they are, Jessica teaches at ASU, and then I have my youngest son. He teaches at the University of Maryland. And then my oldest boy, he's an adjuster at Geico, and my daughter, she's a company commander in the U.S. Army National Guard. So that's because while they were growing up, I included them in I included them in my activities.
You know, and like I have your information scrolling across, so we're coming up on break. But that reminds me of I hear that word sales all the time, and when I talk of sales, and I'm talking about it in the holistic or the organic way, I believe that sales is very needed. I feel poor sales is not needed. you know, and a person who sits across the table from you who's in the selling position should know the difference for if the client really truly needs that or not. And I think that they have an obligation to be able to
Yeah,
discern that. But here's the thing: for most of us, people don't buy what they hear. They buy what they see. And I think sometimes, us as parents, we don't see ourselves as we'll say a lot sometimes, but we don't show a lot all the time. And it gets back to the belief, because I think good parents are also good salespeople, because they're always selling a belief system that encourages fulfillment of their children's gifts. And that's what I think that you did very well for your children, Dr. Joe. So
yeah.
we're gonna play a short commercial. We're gonna come back, and I don't know, like that Love Connection. I remember as a show the guy Chuck Ruler used to say 2 minutes and 2 seconds. So we'll just come back at a few minutes. But I'm enjoying this conversation very much with you.
Okay.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
All right, everyone. I am here with Dr. Joe Blake. He is a 2-time best-selling author, soon to be a 3-time best-selling author, and I'm really honored to be with him. A former vet like me, but once a vet, always a vet. Good
Yeah.
family man, a good, courageous entrepreneur, and I'm just blessed that he is a part of my inner circle, my pick up the phone team. Dr. Joe is the owner and founder of Blake Media. It's a company that specializes in personal development, web design, content development, video, how to speak, and many other things. And yep, there's his book, Building Financial Literacy. 2 special areas is he helps power up families so they can all find success together, and he also believes that that change starts with the kids. So I've seen him work with our own kids. He's an amazing leader, and which is what I want to get to now, Dr. Joe. In this segment, you have a lot of experience. You've been put in a lot of positions, like um, or like me. We could go either way. We've both been, I think, shot at. We've both been under, in the line of fire, especially you.
Yeah.
I mean, literally and figuratively. And a lot of people don't know. I mean, you've worked for Honeywell. You're an adjunct professor at Estrella Mountain Community College. I know you through Primerica, which is also a backbone of financial development and leadership
Mhm.
for both young and old. and in addition to Blake Media. But tell us a little bit about your background and maybe some business heroes that you've had in your life to help you become who you are now.
Well, I tell you, two of the greatest business heroes that I had, and my business mentor. One was Theo Cox. He
Hmm.
was a senior vice president in Primerica, and the other one was my pastor, Dr. Alfred Craig, Senior. And they both came in my life almost around the same time. Dr. Craig came first, though. Pastor was he was the pastor of the church, and he was speaking a language about prosperity. And then Hugh, that's when with Primerica they were talking about financial independence and things of that nature. So they didn't know each other, but they were still talking the same language.
Hmm.
And I heard those languages. And then when all the 13 years I spent in the Air Force, it was a tough time financially because I was married and had 3 kids. So and and my boys were like close together, so I had to buy a bunch of Pampers, man. Whew. That's
Well, that
that's
sounds good.
yeah. But those two guys is where I got a
Hmm.
lot of my business strengths from. One was a spiritual guy who was a business owner, and one was a business owner had spiritual guidance, and that's how I got.
That's the original crossover, isn't it?
Yeah,
That really is. That's the original crossover. Well, and it reminds me of something because this is somewhat a good place to bring out someone my mom had worked with. You know my mom well, and she was a professor of curriculum and instruction. That's where her PhD was in, and she taught multicultural non-sexist education. And she was a trailblazer herself, like you have been. And one of the things that one of the persons that she worked with early on in her career that she helped out tremendously was a man named Thomas Leonard. And I bring Thomas out because Thomas Leonard was the person who invented the cottage industry of coaching. Where you hear business coach and you hear life coach and you hear, I don't know, lifeguard coach. But he was a business, he was a financial planner. And see, and this is what I believe that you do too. He was a financial planner, and he worked with all these families, and and he was beside himself because in his heart he knew they could do better. He knew that they can do better, and he's like, I'm showing them the numbers. I'm showing them how they can do it. You know what? But then what he found out, it wasn't a problem of the checkbook. It was a problem of really the mindset. Because people who don't believe that they can move from one point to another point won't. And
Mm,
that's still true to this day.
it
And
is. It
you
is.
know and, that's something that you do when you come and you teach people with your financially fit program. You've gone through it all. You've been mentored by someone. You've had to model after something, and then you need to maintain that to really help others achieve greatness, not just in the financial portion, but in the belief portion in your lives, don't you?
Yeah. Now, what I model in my book, Financial Literacy, is actionable knowledge. And actionable
Hmm.
knowledge is actually derived from Chris Argyrides. He was a Harvard University professor, and he actually uh, uh, coined the phrase actionable knowledge. Actionable knowledge is derived from empirical research. So the research it has to be done from an empirical doctoral standpoint where someone else would come and pick up the standards that I've done and do the same research as well. So my research was a qualitative research, and it was a case study built on phenomenology, which is lived experience. So I went to like 3 different church locations, and I sat down with like 30 different participants and spoke with them for an hour to gain information on what was causing I felt was church members to fall in their financial picture. And so since I've been an investment advisor for 27 years, I knew based on the survey questions I was trying to answer, what were some areas that may or may not be a shortfall for those people. So out of my research, that's where I created what's called a actionable financial decision model and an actionable financial behavior model. So it's behaviors that we have that influences the decisions that we make. And if your behaviors aren't within a certain uh, behavior pattern, then your decisions are off altogether as a whole. And that's what's in my book. And once you understand your behaviors and your decisions and how they're intertwined together, and you can make better choices and better decisions in the end. And so there's literacy, that's getting the knowledge and information out. That's what literacy is for. And that being a financially literate person is being able to make those effective choices on the other side. So so it's finance. That's why I put financial literacy. Even though there's some companies or some individuals that may use financial literacy, they normally attach it to a product or service. And this is more of a full understanding of what financial literacy is and the reason why you need to become a financially literate individual.
Well, and it brings up something in mind when you're talking about that. I like to say, and I'm not sure who coined it originally, but success leaves clues. And,
Hmm.
and if you can follow those clues, you can become successful in yourself in your own way. And I think a lot of it actually comes on actionable and, an action actually sometimes is what you referred to earlier, and that's testing. And so you create a model and you test that model and you test it in different environments and you see what the outcomes are,
Hmm.
because what you're trying to do is gauge performance. And so
Hmm.
and I, because I think sometimes it gets lost in translation because we go through it so quickly. But I'm bringing us back just a little bit because for me, you said a whole lot. And maybe someone who might be a layperson in this environment, they have no idea what you said. But
Yeah, I know. I just sometimes I had to catch myself with the PhD.
yeah,
That's. But go ahead.
because yeah, because what you do is you set up a hypothesis, and from that hypothesis you create an inference, and an inference is really just a wild ass guess. And from that wild ass guess you try to set up a control, and you try to set up different testing models, and then you see and you gauge the performances from that, and based upon those performances you can refine your inferences, and you can actually even change your hypothesis, and from that you get behaviors from. And I think that that's a lot of what I want to say, because when you talk about statistical analysis and you're looking at bell curves versus outliers, in any model, what you're doing is saying, these actionable, knowledgeable, items that you found come upon an empirical evidence on research behaviors that create quality in the financial fitness that you teach in this book. Would I be correct?
Well,
You know,
partly because
okay.
because qualitative doesn't deal with numbers. Quantitative does, and that's more quantitative. Qualitative, that's where I've mentioned the word phenomenological, because that's lived experience. That's how you feel, how you express, how you think, because that's, in my opinion, where the real stuff's at.
Yeah.
How
And
people feel.
it, and see, like with me, what this is good. This is like business owners. I mean, this is the talk here. This is what keeps me up at night. I always say, when it comes to computer programming, see, I can't just go off of when I used to make algorithms and business models and developing softwares with if-then statements. The thing is we can't take qualitative and so what we have to do is have to take the qualitative attributes and try to store them somehow and label them, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you have to put it into to make a quantitative you know inference or algorithm from it to get some type of result or output. And the reason why I'm coming full circle here, because this is
Yeah.
so important on this show, because a lot of people don't understand that we are not at the point of AI and our algorithms and what we do for all these corporations and whatnot, Google, and everyone else. We have not still fit the qualitative portion of the who we are into the numerical output of what we want. And I think that that's very, very important of what you put to define, and classify the difference between when you're a business owner, numbers matter. But but the numbers will come, and this is what I found, and this is where I'm going with the qualitative, that the numbers will come if you understand the relationships best and you understand yourself best, don't they?
Yes, that's what that's one of the main things I found in my research, because I wanted to know what the people were thinking, how the
Hmm.
people felt, and that's like part of my research. I went to three different churches. One was Anglo, one was African American, and one was Latino. So that way, I felt I was going to get a broader picture from three different ethnic groups. So wasn't a one way thing. Everybody had, in my opinion, had an opportunity to be able to share, and that way I was being fair, and in that way I was giving, you know, and young and old, an opportunity to be able to take part in it and give a picture of what could be for a greater whole. And in business, you have to be that way to a degree as well, because money comes in many different shapes, forms, and like money here is the dollar, in Canada is the franc, I think it's something like that. Over in Europe, it's the euro, and in
Yeah.
England, it's the pound. So money is money because that society says it's money. As a business owner, we need to focus on how to create wealth. So you can have an idea of creating a chair, like I'm sitting in the chair, you're sitting in the chair, and those that are listening to us are sitting in the chairs. So you can create a chair here or over in India or over in China, and you'll still be able to make money because you have an idea of how to create a chair there, there, and there.
And which goes back to many of the things that you and I talk about. No one cares about your what and your how unless they care about your who and your why.
Yeah,
And I think that that's important. But you know and I tell people this all the time, but what every person pays for, it's not the who, it's not the why, it's not the where, it's not the when, it's not even the what. I mean, because I can figure out the what. It's the how, because you do your how better. And
yeah,
I tell people, I tell the entrepreneurs, all the time, you know what, I pay other people for their how because they do it so much better than I. So
yeah.
at any rate, I mean, we are already at the end of our second segment. Let me go ahead. I am with Dr. Joe Blake. He's with Blake Media LLC. He is a two-time best-selling author. He's going to be a third-time best-selling author in the book that's behind me, The Art of Connection.
Alrighty.
The new book is going to be called The Art of Connection: 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes. And Dr. Joe, I mean, that book has actually been, I'll just say it, a godsend for the community of iNetrepreneur Network. It actually took us from being a group that was very entrenched in the state of Arizona. Now we've really, all of us have gone global, haven't we?
Yes, we have. That's an awesome feeling, awesome thing that God has done for us, and it's wonderful that someone can just as a business owner put their footprint in business that way, and be able to expand. So hats off to you, Robert, for putting that together. You and Sean, and taking what is put in you and ran with it. So
And I've and what's really interesting is when we put that book together, and I had to put the whole project down for a little bit, so I didn't even look at the book for the longest time. I had him in my office. I'm like, man, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to. That was just too much work. What did I do to myself? I said it was purely passion because there was no profit. I mean, and then I remember one day I just, one of my sons said something to me, and they said, "Hey, Dad, where's that book?" And then all of a sudden, I said, "I don't know." And then all of a sudden, I even went to and I opened it up, and I started reading a few things, and I went, "Wow, this is it. this is entrepreneurs, business owners, influencers at this finest point. So, Dr. Joe, we're going to take a break really quickly here.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and do like our commercial break. Then we're going to come back and let's talk about something kind of fun as well. And that's legacy. Let's talk a little
Okay.
bit about legacy after our
Okay.
break.
Good deal.
All right. Thank you so much.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Oh my goodness, I am here with one of my besties, and I never said that on this show before, with Dr. Joe Blake, amazing man, a patriot, an educator, a survivor at one time, and now turned into a thriver. And I
Yeah.
mean, and yeah, and you're saying it, you know, and one of the biggest things that you and I both talk about, I mean, really heart to heart, is where I feel you're an incredible man is you have an incredible belief and you have an appetite for other people, you know, and you truly put the color in the rainbow. You have a very diverse family, you have a very diverse outlook, but you have a firm belief, and that's one thing I've always appreciated about you. And
Hmm.
which gets us to the part of the show where you know I think about it a lot. And and I think about my legacy, and I love that thing where we all have a born on date, and then all of a sudden we have that expiration date, and everything is that dash in between, and I kind of look at myself and I'm like, what are we dashing towards or what are we dashing from? But no matter what, each one of us is going on this journey. We're going on this you know um, pathway, with differing velocities. Some faster, some slower, some with more meaning, some not. But open up the window for us and talk about legacy and some of the things that you see in your terms. And at this point in your life, it's kind of a good window to talk about. When you're seen, what are some of the things that you want people to see that you've contributed, in your lifetime?
Well, right now I'm actually just finishing up with my father-in-law. He was 84 years old, and he just went to be with the Lord. And I look at his life, and I've been in his life. He's been in my life for 23 years. That's how long my wife and I've been together. And you hear the stories, but then and you hear the love that he gave out and helped other people and everything. When you see the love come back, and you turn around and look at the sanctuary where he's at, and you see the pillars and the places is full. You see that love come back. You say, man, this man loved people. He loved his family, and his family and the people loved him back. And that's then after the end of your dash, you want to see that type of love come back. And that's what I saw. And it just made me think about three main things that I got from my father-in-law. One, first thing was acceptance. When I first met him, because my wife's Latino, and so him and I met him. Wasn't the first time. Well, when we got married, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, they both said to me, "Mi casa es su casa,"
Hmm.
and I didn't, I didn't speak Spanish well back then, but I kind of figured out. I thought what it was, and my wife further let me know what it was. I said, "Man, he accepted me right off the bat. Mi casa es su casa," and I was like, "Man," and I was like, "Wow, I'm totally a different ethnicity," and he said, "My house is your house." I was like, "Man, that was awesome." Second thing I learned from him is that well, he said to me, it's like he told me to take care of my baby girl, which is his daughter, and I was like, "Hey, okay, not a problem. I'm going I'm gonna definitely do that, you know." And that was later on down the road as we were married. He said that, and I was like, "Wow," and I mean, he's paying attention to me. And the third thing that I got from it was just experiencing him being with his family, being with his kids, and how there was lessons that he gave him, and also he was very jovial and jokeful and had fun with his kids when they were around. And I was like, those three things, I look back at myself and make sure I'm that way with my, how I'm with my children. Like, yeah, I talk to them about making sure they get their education, make sure they get make sure they got their ducks in line, like they're all my clients, make sure they're got their four windows of success and investments put in place.
Hmm.
Uh, I make sure that I'm having fun with them as well, and they have like I have my own. Two of our children are married. We have five grandkids, and I have African American grandchildren. I have Latino grandchildren, and I have Asian grandchildren. And one guy. If you looked at me, you wouldn't think I had Latino and Asian, yeah, and they all call me Grandpa. So that legacy we're looking to leave is for them to look back and say, "Wow, well, my grandpa he had three or more best-selling books, and he did this, that, and the other, and he was an Air Force firefighter." Uh, yeah, man, I actually did that.
Yeah, you know, and it's so important. And why I trust in you is again, like when I was in the Marine, they always said when you're in the Marine, there ain't no color but green.
Yeah,
So, you know, and it's the green that is a part of the team. And I always remember that, and I say that to entrepreneurs nowadays. And I said, what I want to teach and what I live by is embrace the diversity that's all around us, but work to a unit. You work towards a unity for all of us. And I think that that's so important. And what you said, Dr. Laura's checking in. I think we had May from Hawaii. She's been watching the show, so we get people from all over. So Chicago, Arizona, California, Hawaii. You know, and it life has changed so much. And what was once really scary and uncharted and challenging is now beginning to be fascinating and unbelievable and immeasurable almost. Being
yeah,
able to cast a voice. And by a casting a voice, sometimes it's like when you listen to podcasts too. you know I see why people love podcasts, because you're just listening to the inside. There is nothing else out there, but that voice, whether it be reason or calmness or action or marketing, whatever, right? Leadership.
right.
But it it all gets back. I believe those who are able to get to the point of faith, you know, be prior to that, have actually gotten to the point that your father-in-law taught you, and that really is acceptance. Accepting that you're going to fail, accepting that you're going to succeed, and accepting all the things in between. I mean, don't you feel like acceptance is one of the most important things you can have as an entrepreneur or business owner?
Oh, you have to. You have to be to have a successful business. You have to be accepting. Because accept the fact that people want to do business with you, and then there's some people who don't want to do business with you. Accept it. It's just a part of being in business.
And the other thing too is like, acceptance and courage and love and perseverance. And it sometimes, we hear these words all the time. And you know my question is, can these words be practiced? Can we practice these things?
You practice them by doing them every day, and in your interactions with um, your neighbor, interaction with the guy at the bank when you're in line, when you're in the store, and you know get ready to get something, a cup of coffee or something like that. You practice your interaction with people because we all have the same joys, the same likes, the same things in life. Just say hi. Just say hi, and you just saying hi. Boom, there it goes. Conversation comes. We all live in
you
the
know
same world.
and isn't that a lot of what about really just being human is, entrepreneurs, from what I understand, they're all pretty much human.
Hmm.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen very many non-human entrepreneurs. And the first things are out there. I like to say is are you open for connection? Are you open for conversation? I think that
Yeah.
these are many things. And when see, but here are some other things that I talk about too, and maybe you and I could talk about this well. Is part of the book, and I'm bringing up the book because it's a part about that legacy. And I thought about you and me and legacy because we always look at, financial things and property things and stuff things as legacy. But Troy, one of my sons, he was totally spot on when he came to me. And I know you know this story, but I'm going to say it anyway. He came to me, he says, you old people, you got it all wrong. He's like, legacy isn't about the stuff, it's about the knowledge. Because I can lose all the stuff, but only knowledge will allow me to get that stuff back. And I'm like, I'm like, he's 13. I'm like, who is this kid? Because I'm not sure which house he's growing up in. Um,
You got a little,
'cause I can barely get him to clear his dishes off the table, right?
you
So,
got a little Einstein on your hand right there.
you know, but but legacy, just it isn't just stuff. It's not just property, money. It is knowledge. It's tradition.
Yeah.
It's personal love. That it's social conventions that we pass down from generation to generation, isn't it? And that means,
Yes.
right? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And kids do it. They do it as they see you do it. You don't have to tell them. You doing it, you living it. They follow. Like my kids all did the school thing because they see me do it. I didn't have to tell them.
Hmm.
And my youngest boy, he really uh, while he was in the Air Force, he got his master's degree. While he was in, he did 13 years just like me. While he was in, he did that. He got his master's while he was in, and he started teaching at at University of Maryland while he was on active duty. He was 29 years old when he first started teaching in. Now me, I was already out, got my master's when I got.
It appears we lost a connection with Dr. Joe Blake. Let me see if we can get him back on here in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and we already have Dr. Joe
Okay.
back. That was a quick technical fix. Thank you.
Okay. So, but I was just saying that my youngest son, he followed that path, and he's so much further ahead of me already at his young age. And they do it quicker because they've seen we've already set the mold, already set the pattern for them to follow. That creates a whole different legacy.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because a couple of things that I believe that that is spot on. My thing is this: there's two things that can go on with youth that as we get older we don't have as much of. One is the capacity to drive in the imprints of patterns and thoughts in the way that we can't do as we get older. Because I do believe we are like a supercomputer, and we just keep taking and we keep, we keep archiving and we keep archiving and we keep archiving. We get this big database of stuff that we have to sift through. you know and part of my thinking is as we get older we have to start learning how to create mind dumps. I gotta outsource some of this stuff in my mind, because to get to some of the things I really need to know, it takes me time to get there. Hence, can't teach an old dog a new trick. Now, I don't believe that, but
No, I
I
don't
do
believe that
believe,
either.
yeah, I don't believe that, but I do believe that children, if taught in both in the heart space and the mind space, they can get to their skill spaces much quicker, because they have more room of access in imprinting and creating their own algorithms to live. And the faster that we can get with them, the faster that they progress. And hence, you do that with your kids, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, teach me, grasshopper. They come out with some crazy things, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. I have a grandson. He's Felix is 9. I call him the. Uh, we play games together on a video game. I call myself Doctor Philosophy, and he's the philosopher.
Uh,
'Cause
yeah.
but because he has the nickname, he stays very active in school and learning.
Yeah. So when you sit down with your clients, because I want you to subtly brag upon your business now. I
Okay.
mean, you really take an, I would say, underserved space. I mean, yeah, there's people and they have portfolios of multi-millions or even billions, you know, and you have portfolios of millions,
Mm,
and I'm not saying, because it's not a comparison of the totality, it's a comparison of the audience that you want to serve. And I've talked about this so much. Someday people are going to, I hope they start saying it too. We concentrate, Dr. Joe, so much on the outliers, don't we? C-suite, CEO, startup, beginner, underprivileged, access to resources. But then you get into this middle area, the hamburger level area, and it's like, who's in between? It's like learning how to be a follower, learn, like the beginning of the show, learn how to be the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, the number 5. Learn how to be served and be of service. And see, when I look at you, you really serve that hamburger portion of our society. And
yeah.
that's what I appreciate about you, because you didn't go after chasing shiny objects. You really went after chasing kind of like the nuts and bolts of our economy, and that is
Yeah.
that middle class area that is truly the underserved area. And that's where you went. And I just wanted everyone to know, why is that the area that you chose to focus on?
That's where I pretty much came from. And then maybe not even middle class, a little less than middle class. And yeah, but with a PhD, I could probably went to some other firm with my license and went to a higher firm. But in my heart, I didn't feel that. I felt
Yeah.
that I needed to be where I was at, and I felt that I could talk to those that were at that level more so. Now I can still talk to people that are up here, but I felt I needed to be here. Part of the reason why I joined the got into finance really was for me and my mother. That was the only reason why I got into it. Was so I would tell I can learn from me, so I can tell my
Right.
mom, and so my mom would be all right. So many other people that didn't know anything about it. And even though I may talk a lot of technical things, but when I sit down with my clients, I draw pictures. I make it very plain, very simple, very easy for them to understand. Like I mentioned earlier about the 4 windows of success,
Yes.
I literally draw out 4 windows and tell them what those 4 windows are for. That's what you need. This is the three. These are the 4 basic things you should have. If you don't have that, you shouldn't be playing over here in this work, in this financial world over there. And I like to make things simple, make things you know basic, so they make sure they have those foundational things in place.
Hmm.
Then you can go party over here, with any other extra money. And that's why, and I stay that way because I'm a humble man. I mean, I came from Baltimore, Maryland, man. I came from the hood,
Yeah.
915 North Sticker Street. You can go
Hmm.
look it up on the map now. That's in Sandtown, Baltimore. Sandtown's one of the roughest. It's one of the roughest parts in Baltimore. Not the only rough one, but it's one of the roughest parts. I never knew that until I
Yeah.
left.
Because I was home.
It was
That
just,
was home.
yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was cool, but um, I stayed in that area because that's where I felt my heart was at.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Joe, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate what you do with the entrepreneur community. I appreciate what your outlook on life in every way, and your service to our country. So proud of that, being in that honored group with you. I just want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. I have your information scrolling across the screen here. I know that you have leadership within our own network. Tell us some other ways that people can access you so they can start that conversation, whether it be, conversation or up to even being a client. But Dr. Joe, tell us some other ways.
Okay, you can. That's that number there is my cell number. So I'm putting my cell number out there to everyone.
You put yourself out there then.
Yeah, I did. I gave you the direct cell number. If I don't answer the call, that's because I'm preoccupied doing something else. Please leave a message. Leaving a message helps me know who's calling me, why you're calling, and I'll be able to call you back. Got my email address there. That's the best way. And on the second half of the email, that's also my website address. So you can go to www.blakemediallc.com, and on my website you can read a little bit more about the company. My sons actually helped me with the website development side and cybersecurity and all the good side. Those guys, that's what their degrees are in, and so on that business side they help me with that. And then my daughters still help me too. I make it like a family thing, man.
Absolutely.
What's the use of having all those degrees and don't use them? So I got.
Well, heck, I said, what's the use of having all those kids if you don't use them? So I don't have to wait to the degree. Well, Dr. Joe, I want to say thank you so much for being on this show today. You know what? It's a privilege. It always is that we get a chance to talk. And, I just hope collectively, you and I, one-on-one made 11, because, that's what we're here to do, is just create a tremendous amount of impact. Have a great weekend until I see you again, either in a chapter, on a Zoom, or on the radio show.
All right, Robert. Have a great day.
You too. All right, that is Dr. Joe Blake, the owner and founder of Blake Media, and a former military veteran like myself. I'm so excited that he was on our show today. You know what? I understand everyone here has things to do and places to go, but you took this time and place to do things with us. Until I see you next, next week is Thanksgiving. So we will not be seeing you next week. It'll be in a couple of weeks. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful weekend until we see you in a couple of weeks. My name is Robert Jones. I'm the founder and chair of the iNetrepreneur Network. Thank you for being us. See you in 2 weeks, 2:30 to 3:30. Arizona time, which right now is Mountain Standard Time. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe. See you soon.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.